In this episode of the Cozy Let's Play, we build a unique new addition to the new village just across the way from the Mossy Acres farm, and we also come up with a name for this village and the river that it sits upon. Welcome back, friends, to the Cozy Let's Play. I was just spending some time here on our newly constructed fishing raft, being pulled along by our newly constructed small little tugboat, operated by our little chicken friends over there. For today's episode, I have got a very lovely build already planned out that I think you guys are going to enjoy. It's a little bit of a change of pace in terms of styling and some of the techniques that we use within it, so I'm excited to get to it. However, before we do that, if we take a look right over here on the other side of the river, I couldn't help but to have noticed over the past couple of episodes that there are some horses over there, and not just any horses, but some black and dark gray kind of charcoal colored horses, and those are my absolute favorite in the game. So before we get into anything too crazy, why don't we go on a little horse taming adventure and see what kind of friends lie on the other side of the river. Before we can head over there, we're gonna need some saddles, some leads, and maybe even some horse armor. So we're gonna check around a couple areas, first at our stables in the Mossy Acres farm, and then maybe I'll head up to the Cherry Creek Cottage and see what we've got in storage up there as well. Starting with first the stables, and I didn't remember if I had any storage set up out here to keep some saddles or leads in, and it does not look like I did. We do have the one horse from a previous episode, and as a matter of fact, we're still waiting on name tags to be able to give this guy a name. I forget what the name was, but I'll put it on screen as it was suggested in a previous episode around when we were working with the horses in the first place. Well, I stopped by the Mossy Acres farmhouse, and we're getting a little bit low on food. I've been going through potatoes pretty much this entire time. We've got one stack left in there, so I went ahead and threw a couple more in the smokers. However, if we check the food storage back here, we are getting extremely low on potatoes. We still got a lot of seeds and wheat and carrots and everything else, but potatoes are what we're eating, so I think it's time to do a little harvest of the potato field. Okay, this is looking significantly better. We are up to just over a barrel full, and that should last us quite a while longer. Just a little detour on our way to get some of those horse things. Back at the Cherry Creek Cottage, and if I'm not mistaken, yeah, we have quite a stockpile of things from some previous caving adventures. As a matter of fact, let me clear out our inventory before we get started. All right, that's much better. So we're gonna go ahead and take, I guess, 3 or 4 saddles. As for the horse armors, maybe we'll go ahead and wait for now, and I'll take the 3 leads that we have so that we can get a fair few of these guys over to our stables. All right, here is our first candidate. We're just over the way from the sawmill over on the other side of the river. So let's go ahead and see what we've got here in our first horse. All right, he finally likes us, and he's got a lot of health. Moment of truth. How fast is he? Okay, not entirely fast. You can't really even sprint with the guy. Test some jumping here. Not entirely great. He can do maybe 2 blocks. I mean, he looks cool, but he's definitely not got much going on for him outside of the health bar, so let's see what else we've got nearby. I see another one poking out from the tall grass right over the hill. Let's see what this horse has to offer. Oh, he seems quick already. Not a lot of health, but that shouldn't be too much of a concern. Aha! He likes us. All right, so let's see what we've got on this guy. For starters, the health bar isn't crazy. We're looking at, what is that, 8 hearts about? But speed-wise, oh yeah, he is extremely quick. I don't remember what our other horse was looking like in terms of stats, but this seems very quick. As a matter of fact, I think this might be one of the fastest horses that I have ever come across, because this guy is just chugging along. He's just going, moving. We do still have to test the jump though, so why don't I go ahead and set up a little testing station right over here. I don't have any snow, but I do have some crafting tables, and you can't do half a crafting table, but at the very least, we can see if he can go up to 3, which I think would be the big test here. So starting with 2. Oh yeah, 3? You can do 3. That feels almost like a 4. Hold on. If we got that fast of a horse and he can jump 4 blocks, we might be in luck here. Oh, he can clear 4 blocks. Okay, well, I kind of feel like I need snow now just to get the most scientifically accurate testing for our horse buddy here. And I do think there was a bunch of snow off in that direction. I think we had found in one of the first couple of episodes, so it might be worth going and gathering some from over there. But before we do, I'm going to keep my eye out for a couple more horses around, just to make sure that I test everyone out and see who all we want to bring back. All right, up on this hill, we've got a couple of gray horses, so I guess we'll go ahead and give this one a try first. Finally likes me. All right, so this one's got some more health. He seems okay on speed. I don't think this is as fast as the other horse was going, but he's still pretty quick. This is still pretty decent. As for jumping, okay, not much of a jumper. Can maybe just go over 2 blocks. Fairly quick though, and decent looking horse as well. So undecided on this guy. If we find enough that are better, then we'll probably leave him out here. Let's take a look at some of these other gray horses just up the way. Starting with the spotted one. Okay, doesn't have a lot of health. Seems pretty slow to start with, so not very promising. Only thing that could redeem this guy is if he was the maximum jumper. I've never found a maximum jump horse. I want to say it's like 5.5 blocks or something ridiculous. I could be wrong, and he is real stubborn. Maybe this is the one. There we go. Okay, speed test. Really bad. A donkey probably moves faster. Health, not great. Jumping, not great. Yep, he's not a keeper. He's staying out of here, but he's not the last one that we have up here. So we're gonna test out this guy next, and it looks like there might be another one down to the right. So we've got a little polka dot pattern almost. Quite a few little dots on this guy. Health bar is pretty decent, more than 1 line at the very least. Has it kicked me off yet? Oh, there we go. Spoke too soon. He seems really slow now that I think about it. The speed in which he's moving while I'm trying to tame him, he is really, really slow. Okay, he likes us. However, I didn't know it was possible to get even slower than the last horse. Like, this is genuinely maximum speed right now. We are going in slow motion right now. So definitely not a keeper unless... no, can't jump. Not a jumper. All right, well, on to the next one, I suppose. This guy's got a lot of health. Yeah, real slow, good health, but he's a better jumper, but he's not a particularly great jumper by the looks of it. So a bunch of horses that I do not believe are going to be keepers over on this side of the river. The horse that we did like quite a lot for being a very good jumper and very speedy horse is right down over the way. So I think for starters, we'll bring him back. However, there were quite a few horses up in the cherry grove right next to the Cherry Creek Cottage, and I don't think we have gotten around to taming those horses yet. I could be wrong, but we're gonna go find out and test those guys out if not. Found our road here, and one of these days I do need to get this road connected up to the actual cottage itself, kind of meandering up the hillside over this way, so we'll have to get on that sometime soon. And one of the big reasons for that is that in this world, I don't plan on using elytra to travel around in a sort of everyday manner. I actually plan on using horses to get around, and we'll have elytra for whenever we need it for important things here and there. But most of our travel is going to be by foot or by horse, and I may or may not have mentioned that on a previous episode, but it's all in the name of experiencing the game of Minecraft a little differently than what has become the norm or the traditional way to progress. In terms of the other horses, we're right up here with a great view of our very first build in this world, the Cherry Creek Cottage, and if I'm not mistaken, yep, these guys have not been tamed yet. However, that guy was quick to tame. Some gray horses. This guy seems pretty average on speed, not particularly slow or fast, but what kind of a jumper is he? A pretty average jumper as well, so nothing too crazy. He's got some decent health. He's pretty average all the way around. That would be a respectable steed to have in the stables. Let's try this one. The speed test, pretty similar to the last one, nothing special. So not a keeper, either of those two so far. We've got another horse way over here, so let's go ahead and give this guy a try. Fairly quick, but if anything, I would want at least a 3-block jump. A 3-block jump, a 3-high block jump, 3-block jump high, 3... Yeah, you know what I mean. So we're gonna leave him out here in the wild. Let's see what we've got going on with this horse. So between the health bar, the average speed, and the respectable enough jump, I think this guy is gonna be our second keeper. We've got another one right here. This is pretty good speed, and that health bar is respectable. Can't do 3. And this guy's got a really interesting pattern with the black fade at the very top. Does not clear the 3 blocks. All right, so he's staying out here as well. But one thing I can tell you for sure, this little side track is getting a little out of control. Real slow. Didn't seem very promising. We'll give this one a go. Speed-wise, this is good. And he cleared 3 blocks. I do think this is our 3rd horse we're going to bring back. We totally missed this guy somehow. So I guess this will be our next test. Oh, we're falling into the cave. That's not good. Definitely faster than the one we were riding over here. Clears 3. I do believe this would be a better one to keep around. Okay, we've successfully made it back onto the pathway here, and our stables are just up ahead with 3 open stalls, 1 for each of these guys, which is going to work out perfectly. So let's start with this gray one right here. Gonna go ahead and bring him in, and we can go ahead and tie him up right there. I think I kept the other one tied up. I did indeed. We'll take our brown horse, we'll put him in stall number 3, and finally our best of them all, this guy right here who had 4 blocks jump and the best speed we had seen out of any of them. Tie him up right there, and that is a full stables. And now I don't have to look at all the horses nearby and wonder about their stats and if they're any good and if we should bring them to the stables. I'd say this is a mighty fine lineup indeed. I'd ask you guys about what we want to name each of these guys, but we don't have any name tags, so I'm going to go ahead and wait on that so that I don't have 4 names to remember for that day instead of just 1. Well, it's suddenly become quite a rainy day, but regardless of the dreary weather, I think we're ready to get started on our build for the day. So most recently in the last episode, we built this little fishing cottage over here right next to the sawmill. And for today, there is another building that I want to do, another house more specifically, and I think we're going to put it in this clearing right here, which is already set up perfectly after our little bit of a river terraforming project a couple of episodes ago. It's just a little too barren right now, so I think it would make for a perfect spot for our next build, and I'm not going to crowd it too close to that building because eventually I think I might want to put a tree or 2 out here, or at least some other things to help detail up the area just a little bit. And I definitely don't want to go for too crowded a village. I really like the spacing that we had between these 2 buildings right here. So while this one will be a little bit closer, I'm definitely not going to get too crazy with how dense everything becomes. Before we can get started on actually building it, however, we are, of course, going to need to set ourselves up with some materials. So we've got our little staging ground right here and everything that we need for the build. And that includes everything that you guys see in this chest and a little bit in this one as well. And this includes all of the interior bits as well, because of course I do want to build up a lovely little interior for every house that we do. So with the materials out of the way and ready to go, let's go ahead and start building up this house right here in this big old clearing we've got. All right, we've got our second addition to the village here, at least in terms of houses. So for this house, I wanted to go for something a little bit different than what we're used to. So I went for something that was a lot taller. I gave the rooftop a lot more height as well, and just a lot more character overall. Something that, again, can kind of differentiate itself from some of the other buildings that we've done, all while feeling like it still fits within the world and still fits the theme that we're going for. This one is definitely a big step away from a lot of what I'm used to doing, especially with how wide it is on the front and back, and then how thin it is on either side. It looks real interesting and real different, that's for sure. You guys will have to let me know what you think of this building, but here's how it looks from the side. You kind of get a couple different interesting perspectives based on where you're viewing the house from, because right here I think it looks pretty good on its own. And then when you look at it from either other side, it just widens out entirely and you get this whole different feel. So I do think that's pretty cool. And most importantly of all, it definitely fits in really nicely around here, fills in this open space. And once we start to get some more buildings in here, and maybe even a tree or two, like I mentioned earlier, I think this place will really start to come alive. And then eventually, of course, we'll continue the pathway all the way up to where the windmill is over at the edge of the Mossy Acres farm. And someday, with everything interconnected and more buildings around here, I think we'll have a really, really cool looking area. That being said, now that we have 2 entire houses built to go alongside the sawmill, I think we're ready for another building that serves a sort of purpose in the village outside of just housing for some people. Just like we did with the sawmill over there, that's got its own purpose and gives the people in the village something to work towards. I'm gonna need your guys' help for some ideas on what else you think we should build here. Small things like, of course, a little inn or tavern would probably be a good call at some point. I don't know if that's what we want to build next, but between that and things like maybe a little trader slash store kind of on the corner as well. We could put a little herbalist in the village. Those kinds of things are what I'm thinking of. So any of those ideas that you guys might have, put them in the comments below. And if I see an idea that speaks to me just right, I think that'll be the one that we throw in for the next episode. Speaking of the next episode, it's going to be a little bit of time until we're back in this world and you guys see another upload here. And that's due to the fact that over on our Twitch stream, where I spend most of my time throughout the week building in a different world and hanging out with all of you guys in the community, we have got a huge stream starting in the month of April, and it's our yearly uncapped subathon. So there's no telling how long that stream will last, and for as long as that stream's going, I probably won't be able to be recording, editing, or putting out any videos in this series. Hopefully it doesn't go too long before we get the next episode after this one out, but just so you guys are aware, there will be a little bit of a break between this one and the next one. Oh, and hey, one more thing that I almost forgot. Now that we've got this village started and built up a little bit, I did tease in the last episode, or maybe it was earlier in this episode, I'm not too sure to be honest, but we've got names picked out for both the village and the river that forks right where the village sits. So it's a bit of an interesting one. We'll start with the river, and the name was suggested by Chocobo Knight, and that suggestion was to name it the Jade River, which I really like the sound of. So we've got our river name, and as for the village name, I'm actually going to take another river name suggestion and kind of tweak it to the village. Another one of the name suggestions we got was from Arden May, and while initially for the river, I do quite like it for the village instead. So we're gonna call the village Misty Eve, which maybe isn't your typical kind of village name, but I think it fits perfectly in this world, and I think it sounds really lovely as well. With the names decided on, that is gonna do it for this episode. I hope the horse shenanigans at the very start of the episode wasn't too much for you guys and you enjoyed that little side quest, as well as of course the build that we got up to, adding that new lovely house to Misty Eve Village. Before we're done, I do want to say a huge shout out to everyone who supports the content on Patreon, whether it's for the YouTube, for the Twitch, or a combination of the both of them. We've been getting a lot more people on there lately, so thank you to each and every one of you guys whose names are on the screen. Speaking of the Twitch, as always, if you found the videos first and you haven't yet been to our Twitch channel, a link is in the description, and we spend most of our time over there live every day, as opposed to the videos here which get out every 1 or 2 weeks. And we definitely love to have you in the chat. Beyond that, don't forget about the longer delay between this episode and the next, but whenever that next episode comes around, I will see you there.